Rad-Ish. Welcome to Rad-Ish, the podcast where we spotlight people who shape counterculture and champion alternative ways of living through their passions.
We are here with Thomas Streekstra, a film industry professional from Amsterdam, specializing in queer and ecological cinema, elemental media, and VR-IX. He is the founder and artistic director of Sprouts Film Festival, an Amsterdam-based interdisciplinary festival focusing on fictional eco-cinema and socially critical debut films. I'm so excited to have you here. Thank you for making some time.
Thank you for having me.
Yes, of course.
For the invite.
Yeah, I was hoping that we could start off. Could you talk about your journey to founding Sprouts? Like, what experiences led you to here today?
Yeah, sure. I think it all started when I started working at Studio K in Amsterdam, student-run cinema. And I started working there as a waiter, and then I became the online marketeer. But my aim was always to start as a film programmer. And luckily, in late 2020, I became the film programmer. So that was the beginning of the journey, I would say. And since it's a student cinema, it offers a great deal of room for experimentation. So that was very nice. But then COVID hit. So we had a lot of time, but also a lot of time to reflect on my role as a programmer, but also what I wanted to program. So during that time, I also quickly became dissatisfied with the way that the climate crisis was being portrayed in Dutch cinemas. Not at the time, because the cinemas were closed, but the things that I saw popping up in the cinemas were not reflecting the situation, I would say. And at the same time, I was doing my bachelor's degree and research master's at the University of Amsterdam. And there I began specializing in queer ecological cinema. And out of that interest, Sprouts was born, actually. So, I took the initiative. I pitched the idea at Studio K. We held an internal brainstorm session about the name. So someone raised the name Sprouts, and they were like, that's perfect. And then the first edition took place in June 2022. So right after everything started to become lively again in the cinemas. And then we had a second edition organized by Studio K. And then in late 2023, we became an independent foundation. And now in June, we'll have our 5th edition. So it's been quite a time already.
Really awesome.
And we're going to celebrate the 5 years. We're really happy with that.
Yeah. Oh, congrats. Gefeliciteerd. I have my own ideas of why Sprouts as a name is a good name, but can you talk a little bit more about like why that's the perfect name?
Yeah, the thing that we really wanted to convey is not only the idea that you can sprout activism, so you can actively nurture, be like a feeding ground for activism, but also for the young talents that are feeling the need to tell these stories, because they are experiencing a lot of setbacks. Like for financiers, it's really tough to step into eco stories. So we really want to give them that extra exposure by saying, hey, we celebrate debut filmmakers. We celebrate filmmakers that want to tell a story about the climate crisis. And I think Sprouts really entangles the two, mixes them together. Yeah. And of course, you have the image of the image that is a bit more hopeful, I would say, than the dominant narrative within eco-cinema. We'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but that was what Sprouts made such an attractive name.
I love it. So. That's great. Yeah, there's so much to talk about there in what you said. But to start off, I was thinking of a previous episode that we had with Lena Hartog, who's one of the producers of The Cost of Growth. And she was talking about how she feels that one of the assignments of art is to like let the world come in more deeply. And I think what you're saying about wanting to see eco-cinema and films that are being more realistic and like feeling the climate crisis. I'm curious like how film has helped you personally feel like the abstract more tangibly.
Yeah, I think a good thing to start with is that, of course, there were already plenty of ecological films out there when we started Sprouts. But they were broadly divided into two groups for me. On the one side, you had The Day After Tomorrow's, the 2004 film that was really this doom scenario of, okay, what is happening if we don't control the warming up of the planet. More recent example is Don't Look Up. That's one type of film that I saw popping up. And the other one is The Inconvenient Truths. So I would like to call them, on one side, the brain doom scenarios, brain dead doom scenarios, and the finger-pointing documentaries. And in both cases, I feel that there is very little room for nuance and very little room for critical thinking. So we're either completely fucked, or there is this heroic last-minute rescue. And the aim for Sprouts is really to show a wide variety of authentic lived realities on screen and connect them back to the climate crisis. So yeah, I think that really stood out for us, thinking of, okay, what could be the role of film in solving, well, not solving, but at least in addressing these issues.
Yeah, I think that, thank you. I think that really connects to part of how Sprouts is described on your website is like a cinema, you want cinema to be a site of protest. And I think that's a really great like phrasing. And yeah, I'm interested to just reflect a bit on, there's many forces that are urging everyone to kind of numb out and like avert our gaze and look away and be distracted and whatever, just scroll and not face the polycrisis. And I'm curious if you could just talk a bit more about why you feel it's so important to create like spaces for sites of protest, especially in this way of like engaging with the future, like Sprouts as a site of protest. Could you just talk more about why that's important?
Yeah, sure. Twice Sprouts coincided with the pro-Palestine student protests, which was a very strange experience for us, I would say, because as a team we felt strongly that we really wanted to be there with the protesters, out on the streets, being active. But then we also quickly came to accept that through Sprouts, we could offer a form of resistance in our own way within the cinema space. So by actively and collectively engaging with these lived experiences that we just discussed, of individuals that suffer from racial, capitalist, patriarchic structures, we hope to ignite the urge to call out on that injustice. It may be more a passive form than going on the barricades and protest in that way. But for some people, that is already enough to just have this collective experience in the cinema room. And we really want to strengthen that feeling of being useful. So in a way that we do that is, for example, that for the second time this year, we have a fundraiser linked to one of the films in competition. So last year we had a fundraiser for Gaza, and this year we have a fundraiser for Sudan. So I think for us it really stands out that at the time when polarization is really skyrocketing, it can be really comforting to come together collectively and care about something in a shared way. That can be very actively protesting on the barricade, but it can also be this a more laid-back approach to protesting. But at Sprout, we feel that both are very valid and very helpful and very strong to build lasting connections with each other and build lasting communities to tackle these issues. So
yeah, I completely agree. A conversation I feel like I keep coming back to on this podcast is that there are many pathways to change, and there are many pathways for like protest and for experimentation and for creating alternatives. And I think it's great that Sprouts is one of those pathways to protest. And I think something that is unique and interesting to me about Sprouts is kind of the imagination aspect. I know that all the shorts and features are fiction based, and I think you say on the that the power of imagination can change our behavior for the better and rethink our relationship with the more than human world. And I think that's a really powerful idea because, like you're saying, of these different types of like, okay, blaming or like doom, I think we can really benefit from the imagining alternatives and seeing like, okay, well, what if we made things better? What would that look like? Could you just talk like a little bit more about that idea of imagination and how that like plays into your philosophy at Sprouts?
Yeah, sure. I think a major inspiration for us when we started Sprouts was this quote by the French philosopher Gaston Bachelard, which sounds very dusty, but it really hits home for us because he described our imagination as being botanical, like a rooted tree that connects the sky and the earth, the real and the dreamed. And I think that's really what brings Sprouts all together. Because like you said, fiction is really part of our festival's DNA. But it's also the idea that we really have to think, really have to imagine possible futures where it's not all doom and gloom. Because let's say that we do find a way to tackle the climate crisis or to curb everything around, and we come out on the positive side of things, then we have to know what we want the world then to look like. And I feel that now we're in this crisis mode that a lot of times we are not able to do that anymore. We don't see where we want to go anymore. And I think it can be so effective and so powerful to together discuss that. Okay, in what kind of world do we want to live? And cinema, especially fiction film, can help us to really do that and really address that. And I think what fiction also helps, contrary to the two type of films that I already mentioned, like The Day After Tomorrow and The Inconvenient Truth, is something that in eco-criticism is called muddled middles, which is a type of green storytelling that really results in ambiguous narratives. So they don't provide a straightforward answer, but that really leave you at the end of the screening like, wait, what does this mean? And if someone comes out of the cinema and I hear this question floating up, I'm like, oh yes, then we picked the perfect film, because we really want to spark this post-credit conversation, which we also actively facilitate through the eco exhibition that we have at Studio K, which is free to visit, which really looks at the climate crisis in different ways, more interdisciplinary, and really offering this stage for extra thought, for extra room to discuss with fellow festival goers of, hey, I didn't understand the film, but could you tell what your take on it was? And then, who knows, maybe those two people start to conversate on what kind of world do you want to live in. And maybe that's a very utopic way of looking at cinema, but I think at Sprouts we have this radical belief still in cinema as a space to help us maybe rethink our way of life and make different choices. It doesn't go in one way. I think a big criticism that we get, or that we're also dealing with ourselves, is, are we not preaching to the choir? Like, are we not showing eco-cinema to people that are already aware of the problem, the issue? But then someone recently told me, yeah, but my activism was also nurtured by going to these safe spaces, going to these collective gatherings, watching eco-cinema. Of course, I already knew that something had to be done, but I had to be strengthened in my beliefs. And then, maybe we do this for a select group, but then hopefully in a couple of years, that group is going to be the next group that's on the barricades and helps to build a better future. So we kind of have a bit embraced that idea of, okay, maybe it's for a select group. Hopefully we reach to a bigger group every year, but it's also fine to do it for the group that is already
interested
a bit awake.
Yes, yeah. I mean, I think that's where it's so powerful that there's the imagination aspect, because it's not potentially like the audience already knows, like you're saying, about the polycrisis, already knows these problems and these like capitalist patriarchal forces and what's going on. But I imagine that we can all benefit from a little imagination, from a little like set aside dedicated time to like proactively engage with the future. I think that creating space for imagination for groups, for anyone, but especially this audience that is already engaged, because I think there's a real like sustainability or like burnout risk in activism at times, because it is an endless, like it's a daily like presence. And I think you need to nurture your activism from many sides and many directions. And so having this opportunity of gathering in the cinema and engaging with like different ideas and imaginations about the future can be really powerful. And so I think that's really great. And I think something that you said that I love is kind of this idea that you'll never fully know like the impact of what the festival will have. Like maybe two people will start a conversation after, and that'll lead to something. And, you know, you'll never even know like what the space you created sparked something.
No, yeah, definitely. Like a good example, last week we got an email from a visitor that was at the festival 2 years ago, and she emailed us because she saw a short film which was called The Secret Garden. It's a Lebanese short film which shows how Beirut is really overflown by these plants, trees, like botanical structures. And it's such a playful, imaginative film. And she reached out to us because up till this day, 2 years later, she was still thinking about this film, and she asked if we had the poster for it. So I read the email and I shared it with the team. Like, whoa, that's only one person, but it's still so nice to hear that. Yeah, that it really moves people. And also what we really try to do is to really tell the eco stories that are not that typical. So for us, EcoCinema is really a wide spectrum of stories that can be told. I think this year a good example is a film, it's an eco short called Peninsula, which is a single static long take showing men cruising in a peninsular grove while snails are sliding across the lens. I'm pretty sure that a lot of people that will see it at the festival will say like, what's the eco part of this? But that's really, for me as a programmer, that's the most fun thing to do, because for me, that's very much eco-cinema, because it really shows what does the modern human world allow us to do in a particular space, or how do we behave differently around the modern human world. Of course, it doesn't tell us anything about pollution or about extinction of animals, but it does tell us that we are part of this interconnected space, and that sometimes marginalized communities can find more liberty or more freedom or more common ground in these spaces that are under threat. I think Peninsula is a prime example of that, why it's so nice to play with the scope of eco-cinema. Something that these typical films of The Day After Tomorrow, Inconvenient Truth, they fail to reach, I would say, that scope that EcoCinema has.
Yeah. Oh, I'm excited now for the festival. Yeah, I'm curious. Well, congrats again on the 5th year. And I'd love to know, like, in cinema as a site of protest, in like building something and lifting up different people and initiatives, how has Sprouts, I guess, like grown in like the collaborations or initiatives that you're finding like Sprouts being attracted and linked to? Like, how has your kind of like festival community grown in the past, or like spread in the past 5 years?
Yeah, Yeah, I think one of the reasons that we introduced the debut competition right from the beginning was that we really wanted to make clear that the climate crisis is never isolated. So everything is interconnected. Many structures and mechanisms have brought us to the point we're at now. So colonialism, capitalism, fascism, the list goes on and on. But we really want to highlight this interdisciplinary and intersectional approach strongly in our selection process, because that also helps us to reach out to organizations that are not traditionally linked to the climate crisis. I think a collaboration that we had in the past, which is a good example, is Stichting Perceval. So they come, they're very advocate for a queer community that is struggling with mental health issues, for example. And of course, that's one-on-one easy to link back to the climate crisis, because their anxiety, struggling with the idea of, okay, what can I do, is also very present there. So by having a debut film and then a talk with an organization like Stichting Perceval helps us to bring them into this eco-activism space, but also to bring eco-activists in the other spaces. So really to strengthen the connections. In terms of collaboration, like we started the festival at Studio K. We quickly expanded to the student cinema, so also Criterion and the Uitkijk, because they are already very welcoming spaces that are very open for experimentation. But then over the past editions, we have also added more community-centered venues. Most notably this year, we will be working together with Midwest and with Cru. And the programs at these venues will also be presented in Dutch, with very low ticket prices for people with Stadspass. So we really, our aim is to ensure that Sprouts becomes embedded in multiple parts of the city, because the climate crisis affects all layers of society. Right. So yeah, we don't want to cater only to the cinephile people. We are very happy that we have them, because without their support, then we wouldn't have a festival. But we also want to expand the reach a bit, which we do in Amsterdam, but we also do that through the rest of the country. So we've also done collaborate with Integrate Wide Open for the film programming for 2 years now. So also to really bring film in other spaces that are not the typical cinema space. Yeah. So we hope we can expand that more and more
that's
the coming
great.
years. But,
I was curious, like looking forward, obviously you have to see how this year goes to get more of an idea, but is kind of the goal moving forward just to continue to be more accessible to a more wide audience, or like what are your goals within Sprouts looking forward?
Yeah, I think at this 5th anniversary edition, we really thought better on, okay, what can we do to help green storytelling find a better audience or a bigger platform? And our answer to that for this year now is that we really want to start at the root of the story. So we really want to work with the creators of these films. So this year, for the first time, we will have an industry day, and we will have an Sprouts Eco Shorts pitch. So we will have 6 filmmakers that are presenting their project in development. It has to be an eco short film, a fictional eco short film. So they're gonna present their work in front of a panel of people that are specializing also in EcoCinema. And then one of these directors will get like a monetary award to help this production come to life. I think for us, in the future, we really see a role for ourselves to really be a catalyst within the Benelux for green storytelling to still take place, because across the board funding is being cut. Right. And all the more adventurous projects are the first ones to be harmed by this. So if with a very limited amount of money we can help these filmmakers to still tell these stories, and then hopefully in 1 or 2 years have that film at the festival, I think that's what we now see as a very core role for us within the field of EcoCinema. So,
that's awesome. I feel like a conversation that another conversation I keep finding myself having on this podcast is like talking about the challenges of creating alternatives outside of capitalist structures while existing within them. And I think funding for the arts, and specifically for like socially critical arts, is a big challenge right now. And I think that's incredible that you're kind of offering one answer to that question of like how to do that is like potentially like, you know, pitching your eco short at the festival. And I think that's great that you're, as Sprouts, trying to be that like arm to help people navigate that like funding challenge. But are you also affected by that, like of that trend of loss of funding?
Well, we haven't had a lot of funding to begin with. I think without having Studio K present for the first two editions to really nurture this idea, it would have been impossible for us to exist. So shout out to Studio K and spaces like this. I think spaces like Studio K are also a lot under threat.
Yeah.
Like, of course, Studio K has a lot of visitors, so that's a nice basis to get revenue in and to build a lasting organization. But other types of venues like Studio K that are more reliant on help from the municipality, help from private donors, they are very much under threat. We are working more and more with organizations that are really embedded into the eco like the eco struggle. So like Greenpeace is a partner, Milieu Defensie is a partner. So it's nice to have these types of organizations on board. But then on the other hand, we also want to keep being this grassroots festival that really, with a very close-knit team, a lot of those team members are also still from the Studio K period. So we're really a group of friends that make this happen. But that's the only way forward for an organization like Sprouts to exist, because we're okay with getting little pay. But it's a bit sad to realize that these types of initiatives can only flourish if team members are willing to give a lot. And of course, it's fine to give, but you have the room to give if you have a stable income that can pay your rent or that can pay your day-to-day expenses. And that's getting more and more hard. Yeah. So for a festival like Sprouts to do another 5 years, we really need the support of the municipality. We really need the support of AFK, which has been a very close partner. So there is a good way forward. There's a good scenario for a way forward, but it requires a lot of help.
Yeah.
So we hope that we can keep that help.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're very positive, and it gives us a lot of energy to organize the festival, and that more and more organizations really actively reach out to us to collaborate instead of the other way around. That really gives us the feeling that we're a healthy organization that is still moving forward.
Yeah, and I think you can really feel it when it is organized by like a group of friends working collectively and collaboratively. And I think that's something to hold on to while pursuing being able to pay your rent and all of these things. So we have a question that we always ask on the Rad-Ish podcast, and it is, there's no perfect answer to the question, but it's, if you could change one thing about the city or the world for a better future, a better tomorrow, if you could change one thing, what would that one thing be?
Wow. I would say produce less, which sounds a bit weird coming from a festival that keeps pushing new films out there. But I think maybe coming back to the pitch that we do, like the candidates for the pitch, they also in their pitch have to write something about sustainability. Like it was very open, the question. How do you see sustainability linked to your project? And I was very happy to, when I was reading the pitches, to see such creative answers to that question. Going from like the straightforward answer of, okay, we're gonna go full vegan for the food on set, but also a lot of people said, yeah, but we can do a lot of recycling. I want to make an analog film, but that doesn't have to mean that I need to make new analog film, use new material. I can also reuse stuff. We are also showing a lot of more and more eco classics, so films that have already been produced. So I think if we produce less in this world, but also in this city, like if you see the amount of trash in Amsterdam, that really is painful. Every ride on the bike through the city, I'm like, oh, what are we doing? Why is this? Yeah. What is all this produced stuff doing on the ground here? And I think that echoes back to a lot of things in society. Yeah. There's so much produced that we don't need. So yeah, I would say produce less.
Yeah.
And produce only stuff that is really valuable.
Yeah.
And has a long livity, or like can live long.
Yes.
Not a one-use item. And I think film is a good example of this. Yeah. I think there's many films that have influenced me along the way in my trajectory of becoming artistic director of Sprouts. They don't have to be new films. They can be films that have been out there for many years. And they still have a life. So I think we should cherish that and aim to have more films being made that are made with a future audience in mind, and not just, okay, we need to produce a new film for my portfolio so that I can climb the ladder. Because I think a lot of filmmakers find themselves in this corner that they have to produce a short film every year to build a portfolio, and so they can finally make this future film, which is the dot on the horizon. Yeah. But a short film can be so effective. So make more short films that are lasting and make an impact.
I love it. Produce less. It makes me think of this poem by Rupi Kaur called Productivity Anxiety. And it talks about how she says oh, capitalism has made me feel like I'm only of worth as long as I'm working. And it's this idea that we're constantly, oh, I need to make something, I need to produce something, I need to be doing more. And the reframing of producing less is really, I think, valuable in every aspect of our life, not only from a overconsumption standpoint, but just on how we're spending our time. Is this hour of my time optimized or whatever? Yeah. So I think that's really nice. I'm curious for maybe a last sub question. You had just mentioned that there's been a lot of existing films that have influenced you. If you could give one recommendation to the listeners of a film that they maybe haven't watched to go listen to.
Well, it has to be a film from the festival, of course.
Let's hear it.
I'm gonna do some very cheap promo here then. Well, not cheap because it's a very nice film.
Quality promo.
Yeah, it's a film called Hair, Paper, Water. It's a bit like a documentary, so it's like an odd one out in the selection this year. It's a 60mm film. It's a Belgian-Vietnamese production. And what it shows an elderly woman in the rural Vietnam. And due to pressures of globalization, both nature and minority languages are in steep decline. And what the film shows is that this elderly woman from a local community, she teaches her great-grandson to value both. So both nature and minority languages. And you see these words in stark, bright red being flashed on the screen. And then you learn what those words mean. And I think the way it does this in a very tactile way, it's deeply immersive, really stood out for me, because losing words says so much about our world right now and about shifting baselines, that we are losing species in a rapid pace. and these words are such a testament of what we are losing. And the film is doing that in a very powerful, moving way. And we have the directors at the festival, so you can ask them a lot of questions about why they decided to tell such a story in today's world. Such a caring story. So I would highly recommend that. It's called Hair, Paper, Water.
I love that. And just to home in on the quality promo, how can people come to Sprouts?
By bike or walk or public transport. No, just kidding. We're in 3 of the city boroughs, so to say, and we start June 1 till June 7. So we're 1 full week, and ticket sale starts on May 11. You can find it on our website, but you can also find all the information on the websites of the participating venues. But if you want to have the full program in front of you, then our website is the best. And follow us on Instagram, because there a lot of things are announced. So stay up to date there.
Okay. Well, we will see you at the festival.
Hopefully, yeah.
Thank you so much, Thomas. This has been awesome.
Thank you.
Rad-Ish.